All right, welcome back to another episode of the Creamsicle Chronicle podcast. My name is JT Olson. With me, as always, is my co-host Garrett Ballard. Garrett, welcome back.
Appreciate it, man. It's good to be back. How about you? How you doing?
I'm all right. It feels like it's been a long week. A lot has
Yeah,
happened in the last week. It feels like.
it has. There's been a lot of news, a lot of things going on, a lot of things going on the football field for the Tampa Buccaneers. That's for sure. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, speaking too fast, but I think this is a good time to touch on a lot of what's going on. What about you? Think the same thing?
Yeah. It's kind of we're getting a little bit into training camp now. Storylines are starting to develop, and the last time we recorded was 8 days ago,
Hmm.
and not even 12 hours after we finished recording, when we were talking about, how there's not a lot of news yet and all these things, our star center blows out his knee.
Yeah, it was a tough thing to see, to read and to watch that video that came out that you could hear him yelling in the background. Really unfortunate situation. We hope Ryan Jensen can recover quickly and get back to the team, get back to his normal self, because that's a tough one to lose right there. That's a leader on your offense, and the third piece of that interior offensive line from last year that is now not going to be uh, starting with the Buccaneers this year, which is just not ideal.
Yeah, we all know what kind of a player he is. Pro Bowl caliber center, maybe the best center in the league. I mean, he's right at the top of the list with guys
Oh
like
yeah.
Frank Ragnow. But, it sounds cliche, but he's also that tone setter on offense. He's that chirper. He's that enforcer. He's that guy who's in your face after the whistle. And that absolutely is a presence, not just as a player, but as a leader in that locker room, now gone.
Yeah, for sure. I know we recorded the day right before, but I hopped on the Bucks Report stream the night that it all happened or the day after it all happened, and just kind of gave thoughts. It's like I was at the time thinking that the team was going to look outside the building, specifically at JC Treader, who's a free agent right now. But uh, from the looks of it, Robert Hainsey seems to be the guy for them.
It's ironic, though, isn't it? Because last week we were talking about Robert Hainsey specifically and how
We
we've heard
were.
almost no buzz about him. We've heard more hype about development of guys like Sedarius Hutcherson.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden, a lot of people have a lot of really nice things to say about Robert Hainsey. It's funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really funny. I was saying, like, if it was they were forced to say good things, like if they're saying good things about Robert Hainsey and then 2 days later bring in JC Treader, I would almost believe none of it. But from the sound, like the look of it, the sound of it, um, they're propping up Hainsey and they're sticking with him. I mean, they seem comfortable with who they have to back up Ryan Jensen to come in and fill that big void that he leaves. Um, and it's going to not happen. Like, he's not going to be able to do what Jensen does every snap. But if we can just get an average center out of Hainsey for the year, I think that's a win.
Oh, that's absolutely a win.
Mm.
I'm not sure if I expect that, though, because they've spoken really highly about Hainsey.
Right.
But in the same breath, I've also spoken really highly about our other backup option, Nick Leverett. And, from what we saw last year, I know he played most of the Colts game. He was very bad in that game.
Yeah, that was really tough.
So it
It's
makes me wonder how much of that is just lip service, just talking about how good all the players are.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I know that personally for me, I would have loved Bowles to have come out and just been like, yeah, Hainsey has it locked up. It's his job. But there's an open competition at center right now between Leverett and Hainsey, and that is an uncomfortable situation for the Buccaneers to be in, I think, because like you said, Leverett was not good last year. And while he might be a good depth piece, if he's competing for the starting job, that means the other guy he's competing with is probably around the similar skill level. You don't want that for 16 games, that's for sure.
No, very concerning. Even if he doesn't win the job and Hainsey wins the job and he's average, That's not the guy I want as your primary backup. I mean, maybe he's developed in the last year, but from what we've seen, it's been really rough.
I know that um, we have some solid interior depth. Do you think if like it's just so bad, do you think they might throw like Stinney at center and be like, what the heck? What do we have to lose? And slot Gadecki in at guard? Because Stinney has that guard job, I think, pretty solid, at least leading into the season.
It's hard to say because
It's hard to
they
say right
have,
now. You're right.
yeah.
That's an unfair question. I just could say I wonder if they will do that at some point if it goes not not according to plan.
I don't think they will because it's a little bit of robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, I agree.
Gadecki coming in, played tackle in college, you're transitioning him to guard, and then all of a sudden, oh, we're going to transition you again to center.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
And, they do cross train, so he's going to get some center reps, but not nearly what he's been practicing for guard.
Right. I definitely feel like I think the offensive line going into the season from left to right is going to be Donovan Smith, Stinney, Hainsey, Shaq Mason, Tristan Wirfs. Tristan Wirfs gave us a scare on the other day too, with that cramp that resulted in him getting carted off. Oh man,
that would have been brutal.
Oh my gosh, that would have been horrible.
I was in the lucky position where I'd gotten off Twitter for about an hour, so it was the scariest minute of my life where I'd read Tristan Wirfs carted off, and then I immediately follow up looking for tweets on it. Tristan Wirfs fine, it's just cramps.
Yeah, just cramps. Man, it was a gut-wrenching minute and a half, though, that's for sure. I was like, as soon as that Rick Stroud tweet that said hearing Wirfs is okay came in, I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, wow, that could have been bad. But that Jensen's a tough one to lose. That'll be obviously something that we weren't expecting to have to watch in camp, kind of thrust into the limelight. That's like one of the main stories now of who's going to win that center job and how are they going to do.
You mentioned you thought Hainsey is the day one starter. Does that mean you don't think they're going to bring anybody in? You've mentioned J.C. Tretter. I think he's the obvious target of who everyone wants to bring in. Do you think they bring in anybody?
I mean, at this point, I really don't think so. I feel like if they wanted to, they would have. And they've really, just from everything I've been reading and listening to in the interviews, they seem pretty comfortable with what they've got. That could change, obviously, as practice keeps going on and we have a game coming up, joint practices with the Dolphins this coming week. Seeing those guys with different people going against him could change minds. That could shift some thought. Maybe Hainsey and Leverett suck against the Dolphins and they're like, oh, shoot, we need to change something up. Who knows? But it's just a time will tell kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, after a week, we haven't got the official results on Jensen and what his status will be, but we know it's going to be long-term, a couple of months.
Yeah, he's at least out for the first half of the season.
Yeah, so it feels like they would have brought somebody in by now. I don't know what the holdup would be with Tretter because he seems like such an obvious person to bring in. If not him, I really like, was it Matt Paredes?
Paredes, yep. He's the other. It's one of those two. It's like, it's got to be. If you're bringing someone in from the outside, it's one of them.
And, Paredes has not been great since getting injured, and his entire tenure in Carolina wasn't anything to write home about. But did you realize that he was the starting center for that Broncos team that won the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning?
I did know that. Yep, I did.
And it was only his first or second year. So even if he doesn't win the job, he's just a veteran voice for depth.
Yeah,
he's been where Robert Hainsey has been. So he can provide a lot of kind of mentorship to him personally as a better backup than what Leverett provides.
Yeah, I'm just kind of this is if I were Jason Light in this situation, J.C. Tretter to me just seems like a no-brainer kind of acquisition if you can get him for the right price, obviously, because we have limited cap space. But no real answer at the position right now since Jensen went down. You can get him on a one-year deal, most likely. Brady's probably last year. You got to go all in. And if you're not just putting your team in the best chance to win, maybe that's with Hainsey. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Who can say right now? But if it were me, I'd go after Treader regardless.
Yeah, and just kind of thinking about what possible logic is. Maybe they're waiting for, full results on Jensen.
True.
Maybe they feel like they can weather the storm for 2 months with Hainsey. But if Jensen's gone long term, that might be a route they decide to go.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. It is an obvious fit because it's Super Bowl or bust kind of year, and losing what might be your best offensive lineman, and there's a really quality option out there to bring in to replace him. What are you saving that money for?
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, you save that money for in-season acquisitions and injuries that might come up. Well, this is that time. Like, this is that injury that came up. That's a big one. Like, this isn't something that you can just be like, oh, we'll figure it out later, because this is a very important thing. Like, there are two people that touch the ball on every play, and it's the center and the quarterback. Like, that's one of the more important positions on the offensive line, especially with a guy like Brady, who we know how picky he can get with the person snapping the ball to him. Throwback to all the um, requests he made Ryan Jensen do when he first got to Tampa with the towel and all that. Um, don't know if you remember that, but it's an important one. I mean, I'm not here to say that it's more important than tackle or anything, because it's not. But uh, we've seen interior pressure get to the Bucks before and mess Brady up. This needs to be figured out.
Especially with a new left guard, because you say
Yeah.
whether the starter is Hainsey and Stinney or Hazy and Gadecki, that's not an inspiring duo. Even though I have a lot of high hopes for Gadecki, he's still going to be a rookie this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's no quick acclamation. Luckily, we have Shaq Mason on the other side, which will help a good bit. But yeah, it's a tough situation to be in right now.
Yeah, bold prediction: the Bucks are going to go right a lot this year.
I think you're probably correct in that.
So let me ask you a follow-up question to this whole Jensen situation. Let's say Hainsey is the guy, and he's a little bit below average. He's not an absolute turnstile, but he's not great.
Right.
He's, just a guy out there.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Bucks still the team to beat in that scenario, where they are kind of weak in the interior of their line now?
Are we talking like NFC or NFC South?
NFC, because I think we
NFC,
all know they're the team to beat in the NFC South.
right. I'm still going to say the Rams are the team to beat just because they're the defending Super Bowl champions, but I think we are still that number 2 team. As much as it is an important position, the team around the center and Tom Brady is still phenomenal. Julio Jones, like the addition we were talking about, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin being themselves, just still got Tristan Wirfs. Hopefully, Donovan Smith. I'm kind of worried about Donovan Smith. I'm not going to lie to you. That left side of the line got a big shakeup with Ali Marpet leaving. That was like the king of consistency, and he's gone. And now it's a rookie and a guy who will be starting for the first time, competing for snaps. Donovan Smith does kind of worry me, but we'll see how that goes. The defense will be good. We know they'll be good. I still think they're number 2 at worst.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And it's really a testament to how good this team is, to where you can lose the best player at his position in the NFL, and it really doesn't drop you in what your expectations are for the team.
Yeah.
It scares me, because if it comes down to it and we're in the NFC Championship game and we're facing off against Aaron Donald, who do I want there, Ryan Jensen or Robert Hainsey?
Well, yeah, I mean, and we were talking about it earlier. Hopefully, the Jensen injury, if we're in that situation, will be recovered by then. Who knows? We don't know the severity of it. So,
Right. Do we have a timetable on when to expect that? I know they initially said a few weeks, but I haven't heard anything since.
I haven't heard anything since, so I'm going to stick with that.
So hopefully in the next few weeks before preseason is over, we'll know exactly what to expect from Jensen. Maybe the team makes a move from there, but hopefully, we'll get a little bit of good news.
Yeah, hopefully.
So that's the big story out of camp so far. Losing a marquee player is always big news.
Yep.
But there are a lot of other stories going on. We're a week in, things are happening. We're seeing growth from some, hearing reports not so much from others. What have been the big storylines that popped out to you so far?
Yeah, one that's kind of recent that I kind of want to touch on kind of relates to our roster predictions episode last week. Um, the Bucks, we were talking about their linebacker depth, and they recently brought in 2 tryout linebackers. They didn't sign either of them, but they brought them in, kind of testing the market. We saw your guy Anthony Barr uh, go off the board to the Dallas Cowboys yesterday. Um, the Bucks are in the market for linebackers. They're clearly not happy with the depth they have. I wouldn't be either. It's very shallow room. You have your 2 starters, and then you have Grant Stewart, who is primarily. I don't think you really want him on the field other than special teams. And then KJ Britt, who's a bit of a thumper, kind of away from the mold of Devin White and Levante David. So I think getting guys in that room is going to be something that they're going to try to do again this offseason. Well, I guess it's not the offseason anymore with the preseason game that went on tonight. But this preseason, this training camp, just something to keep an eye on that I'll be watching as well.
Yeah, I saw Barr signed for $3 million, and that just that feels like an opportunity lost.
Yeah, it was a good deal.
Yeah, because he can be a primary backup as both a middle linebacker and as an edge rusher, and Bucks really need a third guy at both positions.
Those are the 2 positions that are the worst for them right now. I think the depth.
Yeah, so seeing that was a huge disappointment. I thought the Bucks should have been in the mix for that, especially at that price point, which is very reasonable.
For sure. What about you? Anything you've been kind of following, looking up on?
I've been kind of keeping track of what's going on in the secondary.
Okay.
I've been hearing a lot of really positive things. Zion McCollum, it sounds like he's really making his mark, impressing teammates. I've read that Sean Murphy-Bunting is starting more outside corner.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
I always viewed coming out of the draft Sean Murphy-Bunting as an outside corner, so it was surprising when they moved him inside to me. So maybe this is just kind of one of those things where they're transitioning him to his more natural position now that they have so many options.
Yeah, I'm for it if they can get some better play out of him. That's all good.
Because his flashes are really very good.
I mean, when the playoffs, that was like his best. Like when we won the Super Bowl, that was like his best football ever. He was all over the place. He was on the ball like every snap. It was great. So
I think that's what separates him. I don't want to say separates him from Jamel Dean as if he was ahead of Jamel Dean, but his ball skills are better than Jamel Dean's.
And Carlton Davis. He probably has the best ball skills in our defensive secondary.
He's very aware. Yeah. I was watching our playoff game versus the Rams today, and he just scooped up that fumble. I think it was Cooper Kupp's fumble on the sideline, and he picked it up and he ran like all the way across field, 15 yards. He is aware of where the ball is.
Yeah, he definitely knows where the ball is. I wish he was that aware when we were in zone coverage, but pick and choose.
Yeah, maybe moving outside to what feels like a more natural spot for him. That'll help that. I mean, we'll see.
Yep. I did see that there's a safety they signed who was impressing a lot of people. The guy from Clemson, what's his name? Oh gosh. What is his name? No. I can't remember.
From Clemson, I can think of his Curse.
No, he's on the Bucks. He's a rookie.
Let me go to the depth chart.
Yeah, literally.
Is it Tyler McMichael?
No, I just had it.
Oh no, is it Don Gardner?
No.
Nolan Turner.
Yes, Nolan Turner. Apparently, he's been impressing a lot of people. So just a name to watch.
Okay. That's a name that was not on my radar. So see, look at it. I'm learning something from this podcast.
Anyone else?
Exciting, though. Let's see. Just out of curiosity, you mentioned the linebackers they brought in. Do you know who they were? Anyone of note?
Yeah, I know it was T.J. Brunson, and I can pull up the other name right here on my phone. T.J. Brunson and Leon Jacobs. So some guys that kind of came through the draft process not too long ago. I think it's either their first or second or third year removed from the draft, so they're still pretty young. Um, but I think Leon Jacobs had a stint on the Jaguars, if I want to say. I don't know if I'm correct there, but I think he was okay. I am interested and kind of perplexed that they didn't sign either of them because they're both young linebackers. Brunson was not my favorite coming out. Jacobs, I can't remember a ton of, but if he was on an NFL team for an extended period of time or just a period of time, I felt like they would have brought him in just to kind of get some depth in that room.
Well, we've talked about linebacker and offensive line, talking about the depth at the position. Let me float out these two scenarios because they've both been in the news as of late.
Hmm.
Rumors are both Deion Jones from the Falcons and Tevin Jenkins of the Bears, Falcons linebacker, Bears right tackle, are available for trade. Would you have any interest in either of those two if you're the Bucs?
Personally, no. Deion Jones, first of all, has I feel like a pretty substantial contract, and is most definitely not the same player he once was. Even 3 years ago, we had Hunter Thompson on when we were talking about the Falcons, and he was saying he's been pretty disappointing recently, and the Falcons are absolutely going to move on from him. And I just don't think at the price point it's worth it. If they were to cut him and we're able to get him for a discount and he'd be okay with playing a depth role, a bench role, yeah, I'm all for it. But at the current moment, no. And then Jenkins is tough. I'm going to say no also because of the injury history paired with the character concerns that are kind of coming out of Chicago of him not really caring a ton and just kind of being lackadaisical and putting in little effort. I don't know if that's true. I'm just going off what I've read. So right now I'm going to say no to both.
I think they're both interesting names because
Jenkins way more interesting to me though. Like I would contemplate it for sure.
Definitely. Jenkins was a real mauler coming out in the draft 2 years ago. And there might be some questions with his maturity. I don't think it's like that right tackle that the Titans drafted 2 years ago, where
not that bad.
He was drunk at a party and ran from the police the night before his practice.
Not that bad.
Arrested. He's out of the league in a year. But I do wonder, going from Chicago, which is an absolute dumpster fire of a roster, coming to Tampa with Tom Brady, with all these strong leaders we have in the room, could the Bucs maximize a guy like Tevin Jenkins?
No, that's definitely a good question to ask. I just would it be worth the risk because it is a rookie contract, which is going to be not huge but not small at the same time, and are you willing to insert another rookie into that kind of unknown like the dude hasn't played, like he's been hurt, we have Gadecki, Stinney, and Hainsey. That's like the trio of no experience right there. I don't know if they're going to really want to add a fourth guy to that because I think that would just make it more difficult.
And then Wirfs is also very young as well. We forget him because he's an all-pro caliber player. But
I'm not too worried about him, though. He'll be fine.
My thing with Jenkins, even with concerns about him, is he going to give you more than Josh Wells? And from a talent perspective, there's absolutely no question. He's a much better football player. And in a position where he would be a backup with the ability to develop and heal and take care of his body a little more, it might be an ideal situation. The only question is, what is the price? He was a second-round pick 2 years ago. He is getting paid on a reasonable rookie contract. is he worth it for a depth player?
The price, like you said, the price is going to be the decision maker there, because it's very clear he's fallen out of favor in Chicago, so they can't be asking for much. If they're saying, give me a sixth, a fifth, maybe, be like, yeah, sure. But definitely not anything. I wouldn't trade a fourth or anything like that. Fourth or higher, no go.
I might go a little higher than you. I might go like a fourth and a fourth next year. Our next two fourths.
Man, draft talent like the last couple of years has been great in the fourth round. We've been able to find some guys, even if they haven't worked out, that could have worked out and have been pretty good players for us. And at the same time, we traded a fourth for Gronk. There's the trade-off. I think it was a fourth. So you gotta figure out if it's worth it or not. I just can't. Like a second-year player, never really played a down, really. Injury concerns, character or maturity concerns. It'd take a pretty discounted offer for me personally.
Yeah, there are concerns, but if those work out, he is a mauling, nasty, physical run blocker.
Big if though. You're right.
It is. It's a risk. You don't get that kind of guy without risk.
No, for sure.
So I thought it was an interesting name. Two positions we questioned the depth on. There happen to be two guys who are being floated around with trade.
True.
Deion Jones, I think he's just too expensive at this point.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. He's always been a smaller guy. He's more of a cover linebacker, which the Bucs need, but it's kind of the same way that Quan Alexander went. Small, fast linebackers can get injured more frequently, and when they do, they're not as fast, and then they're not as valuable.
Yep. Pretty much exactly what I was thinking.
One more storyline that I think has been worth watching in camp. This receiver battle has been everything we were expecting it to be.
Yeah. Jalen Darden's getting crazy praise. I think he's a lock to make the roster. We were thinking that anyway, but he's just been getting bumped up by just about everybody. Scotty's getting his signature deep ball from Brady every now and then. We saw one earlier in the week, I think, either this week or last. Who got hurt? Someone got hurt, right?
I think Scotty actually came
Scotty?
up limping from one of his catches, so I think he's been a little banged up.
Or was Brashad Perriman hurt?
He might have been. Actually, I think he was.
I think he was too. So just some things are opening up.
And that is meaningful because I think he's in a legitimate competition with Cyril Grayson for one of those receiver positions.
Yeah, I do too. Let me look.
One name that's kind of jumped out to me that I've been seeing a lot, Devin Tompkins. Dude is shifty. Dude is fast. He's a playmaker.
He's definitely a playmaker. It would take a lot for him to make the roster, I feel like.
I think it would have taken Jalen Darden having an awful camp because they kind of play that same role.
Yeah. Jalen Darden left practice on Monday, did not practice 2 days ago, and then I haven't seen anything else. So he has been hurt. I mean, what did we say? We think they take 6, 7? What was it?
I think we said 7.
7? Evans, Godwin, Gage, Julio, Miller, Darden.
So it's probably Perriman or
probably.
Grayson?
I think it's probably either Perriman or Grayson. If Perriman's hurt, Grayson probably hops in there. But Tompkins, it's tough. There's like 3 people that he's got to 2, 3 people that he's got to out because Tyler Johnson's still there. Like we haven't even mentioned him. Like he's still kicking around. He's been on the roster for 2 years. So it's a tough one for that last slot. There's like 4 people fighting for it.
Right. I think Devin Tompkins is putting himself in a really good position to be a practice squad guy.
Oh, absolutely.
Just because he has that return element. And he's got something that only Jalen Darden has on this receiver group. He's got elusiveness. This is
Yeah.
not a quick twitch, elusive group of receivers as good as it is.
Yeah.
Only Darden really does that, and we didn't really see it as a rookie because you could see he was absolutely completely in his head with everything he did. He was
Yeah.
thinking, not playing.
Yeah. I do wonder if they take 8. Just I don't know where they would drop one other than that, but I do wonder.
Yeah, it's with the new coaching regime. I know so much of it is the same with Todd Bowles taking over from Bruce Arians, but let's be honest, Bruce Arians, he's an offensive coach. He is a very pass centric guy. He wants to air it out. Todd Bowles strikes me as someone who's, I don't want to say conservative because he runs a very aggressive defense, but I don't think he's going to be as air it out as Arians was.
No, you're definitely right. I feel like I feel like Todd Bowles doesn't have to do it all like he was trying to do in New York. I feel like he knows that Byron Leftwich has a really good grasp on the offense and what it's going to take to be successful. Um, and if they're going to keep it up, I feel like they might take 8. If they're going to kind of try and get Brady to chill out a little bit and not throw 50 times a game every game, they might take 6. Like who knows? They might. I think 7's that number, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I do think they are going to take a little bit off of Brady. I mean, how often have we complained Leftwich runs the ball too much?
Honestly, a decent bit, but I think it's more so not too much. I think it's more so his selection of times when he wants to run the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yep, get it on first down, get that, move the chains a little bit.
Yeah, that's so frustrating. I hate that.
But I think he is going to move it a little more run heavy. Not that this is going to be a running team. We're not going to become the Ravens or the 49ers all of a sudden, but take a little bit of pressure off Brady. Let him throw only 35 times a game, 30 times a game.
I have
Conserve that arm.
I have also been hearing and reading that Rashad White, I think he's that dude.
I've heard a lot of really positive things.
I think
him.
he's that dude. I think he's going to be good.
I think
Finally,
he's definitely an upgrade over Vaughn.
finally drafted a. Well, maybe I can't say finally yet, but finally maybe drafted a good running back. Like, oh my goodness, Vaughn is, and then Rojo. We know how he left after his first contract.
Hey, there will be no slander of Rojo's name on this podcast.
Look, I liked Rojo. He just couldn't put it together for a full season, man. That's all it was.
He never got there as a pass blocker, which I think so much of pass blocking as a running back is want to. You know where your responsibility is. Just stick your nose in there and hit a guy. Absolutely. And Rojo just never could do that, and I can never understand why.
And he couldn't hold on to the ball either. He'd drop it all the time, but fumble-wise.
But he will always be Super Bowl champion, Buccaneers great, Ronald Jones.
And that 99-yard run against the Panthers was legendary. That was so sick. But yeah, he will be. He will be.
He was our leading rusher in our Super Bowl year, wasn't he?
Yeah, because Lenny didn't play for like 3/4 of the season.
Yeah, and then Rojo got COVID down the stretch, and that's when we got Lombardi Lenny.
Rojo was on track for 1,000 yards.
Yeah, he's having a really good year.
Yeah, he was having a really good year. And then we got playoff and Lombardi Lenny, you're right. And then
he reminds me of that running back who was in with Denver for a couple of years. And I can't think of his name at the moment, but he's moved on since then.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name either.
But he was kind of the same thing. He was good when you hand the ball off to him, but he just wasn't a well-rounded enough player to keep.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's unfortunate, but hopefully Rashad White. I think Rashad White's like a really good pass catcher from everything I've been seeing and reading and just all that. But blocking, we'll probably need our running backs to do a bit of blocking this year with how the interior is looking. But
yeah, that's my question, because he is a good pass catcher. He has good vision. I think he's going to be a good player. It's all about that want to and handling the physicality of the league. And he's not small because he's like 6'2", but he is a little bit more slender, a little bit more finesse. Can he handle that physicality of run block or of pass blocking.
Pass blocking. Yeah. No, I agree. It'll be something that we just have to see in game. They said that like Tom Brady's not playing in the first preseason game. I bet you we see a lot of Rachaad White.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
I think we're going to see a lot of Keyshawn Vaughn because I think this is going to be a last chance for him to make the team.
That could be true. That's also a good point. But I want to see our rookies. That's the main thing.
Yeah, we should see a decent amount of them since none of them are currently starters.
Yeah.
Logan Hall, Luke Gadecki, Cade Otton. We should see a good amount of these guys in the preseason.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Zion McCollum.
Yes, I'm really excited because he's got all the tools.
One of my favorite draft picks. That was such a sick, awesome pick. I was like, when we drafted Jake Camarda, I was like, I want McCollum. And then we passed. I was like, idiots. And then we drafted him anyway. I was like, oh, it's fine. So
let's transition to what we have coming up next.
Yeah.
And this brings us to two topics. We are hosting the Dolphins for training camp joint practices next week. As you may have heard, there's been a lot of buzz with the Dolphins lately, kind of regarding a certain Tampa Bay Buccaneer quarterback, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts first on the Tom Brady situation, and then what to expect with these joint practices next week?
I do think the Brady conversation is interesting because I think there was an element of Brady's retirement that was him trying to play into the fact that he might have gotten ownership with the Dolphins. That would have been contingent on him coming out of retirement to play for them. I don't think that necessarily means anything in terms of his willingness to play for the Buccaneers. There's not going to be – you could put Tom Brady on his least favorite team, the team he hates the most and does not want to play for at all, and he will work hard and work towards a Super Bowl because that's who he is. He's Tom Brady. He's one of the most competitive people in the world. It's just how he is wired. So if there's any Bucs fan that's like, oh, he doesn't want to try, that's not true. He's going to be as good as always. But it is interesting. It was funny. That's all.
I think the tag that the Dolphins got hit with, the 2 draft picks, a first rounder this year, has a big price to play.
Fat tax, yeah.
For flirting with Tom Brady.
I thought it was funny because I saw something on Twitter. It was like, even when he's in the NFC, Tom Brady's always helping out the Patriots. I thought it was pretty funny.
And I was really kind of uncomfortable with this whole thing as it was kind of unfolding. Because, if the Dolphins are getting hit like that, where there are going to be ramifications for the Bucs.
Right.
Luckily, tampering is a one-way street where players don't get any punishment for players tampering with them.
They don't care.
So we're golden on that front.
Anyone on the Bucs, call an owner. Be like, hey, you want me? Come get me.
Yep. Going to be on the phone with the Rams here tomorrow.
Oh, they don't care. They don't have any draft picks anyway.
Yeah, they're just used to not having a first-round pick. They're going to have to go to 2025 to punish them.
They're like, oh, no, you took our first. What are we going to do?
What are they going to trade for Patrick Mahomes?
Trade for a superstar? Oh.
But I totally agree with you. I think Tom Brady, he's given everything he's got to this franchise, and he's brought us the Super Bowl. Even if he does leave at the age of 46 next year and he joins the Dolphins and he gets part of their ownership, good for him.
Yeah.
He owns an NFL team. He's Michael Jordan. He owns one of the 32 teams in the league. Who's going to fault him for that? Especially as a guy who brought us at least 1, possibly 2 Super Bowls.
Right. I mean, look, if you're a Bucs fan and you're pissed because of this, you haven't been happy as a Bucs fan in 20 years. Shut up. Be grateful.
Oh, no. Someone's flirting with our Super Bowl quarterback.
Right.
There are worse problems to have.
Right. So
I honestly, I don't think it's a big deal. I'm not worried about it. I don't think we're getting anything less from Tom Brady than his absolute best.
Yeah.
And honestly, who knows what he'll have next year if he decides to go to the Dolphins. I mean, it's really a year-by-year basis with Tom Brady, if he'll even play, let alone how much he has left in the tank.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anything beyond this year, I'm not worried about. It's just this season for me.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing that I wish we could guarantee was the Brady creamsicles, but
it's a dream that was stolen from us.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's still there. Who knows? But in terms of what to expect from joint training camp, I just think it's going to be a lot of I friggin' Tyreek Hill, man, and Jalen Waddle.
The deuces.
Can we please just cover, like, keep up with them? I don't even care. Just keep up with them, like, please. And then I'll be interested. Their offensive line. That's the other one. Because, hey, Tyreek Hill might burn us. If Tua's on the ground, it doesn't matter. So.
Yeah, I think both Hill and Jalen Waddle are going to give our corners problems because that's the kind of player who we just don't match up well with.
Cannot cover him.
Big physical corners, who is not good for big physical corners? Small, fast receivers. Yep. And that's what they both are.
That's exactly what they both are. That'll be the big one. It's just, I guess, just look at, because, like, these guys haven't played competition that isn't themselves in, like, what, 7 months, 8 months. That'll be big. Like, that's always big. That's significant. Seeing how this team competes against a team that a lot view as, like, on the rise, despite, like, I mean, Dolphins fans are going to be. If anyone's listening to this podcast, do not engage a conversation with a Dolphins fan because you will hate yourself by the end of it. I promise. Dolphins fans, if you're great, you're great. But if you're one of the deranged ones, you're crazy. And the majority of you are crazy. I will say that.
No, there's some really good Dolphins fans out there.
There's great fans everywhere, but that's one of the fan bases that a large portion are crazy.
Even the media is kind of out there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I got into this big thing. I don't even remember the outlet, but I said that their offensive line, it was a few years ago, the offensive line was their best unit because they had Laramie Tunsil. And they're like, well, we've got Preston Williams. You don't know what you're talking about. Our receivers are going to be
Preston Williams and Devontae Parker, the dynamic duo.
Mm.
That was something, yeah.
And they just came at me hard. I'm like, you got one good player. He plays offensive line. That's your best group.
Yeah,
don't talk to me.
Dolphins fans, if you're angry about someone not including the Dolphins in a top 5 ranking of teams in the NFL, take a deep breath. You shouldn't be there.
No. I wouldn't even put them top 5 in the AFC.
No, me neither. Take your fan goggles off and just look at it from a objective perspective. I know it's hard, but do it. Train yourself to do it. It'll make you a better football fan.
Is this a thing in Florida, like Tampa versus Miami? Like, because I know it's like Miami has a university, Florida fans, Florida State fans. Is this like a big thing amongst?
I think if they were both in like either the AFC or NFC South together, it would be, but or East, whatever, I don't know. But we don't play each other enough, and there's like I think college is just more passionate about sports, specifically football, than professional fans, professional sports fans. So I don't think it'll ever reach that kind of magnitude that the UF FSU Miami rivalry does.
So you can just look at them from a distance, acknowledge that they're crazy, and then not have to worry about them.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Florida, like college football in Florida right now is great. I think all 3 programs being good is only a positive, in my opinion. Cristobal's killing it in Miami. Napier's killing it in Gainesville. FSU's FSU.
Has Napier even coached a game yet? I thought they just hired him.
No, but he's on the recruiting trail, I mean. Cristobal hasn't coached a game there either in
That's
Miami.
True.
They're both killing it in recruiting, though. Miami more so, but I love what Napier's doing at Florida.
I'll tell you what, though. He is no Jim McElwain.
Oh, happy to see he's recovered. By the way, that was scary.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that was really freaky.
For those of you who don't know what Garrett's talking about, Jim McElwain actually had a stroke last week going into Mac Media Day, but he is doing well. He is back in the facility getting ready for the season. So health is all good there.
Yeah, no hard feelings from a Florida fan.
And now he's the best coach in the state of Michigan.
That's a bold statement.
I stand by it. Show me one better.
The one that made the playoff.
Jim Harbaugh. Take Jim McElwain over Jim Harbaugh.
I would not, from experience.
This is a CMU friendly podcast.
CMU's great. Look,
Jim McElwain for president.
As long as he's not near any sharks, we're fine. But I think this is the sign of the podcast winding down when we get into talk that isn't the Bucks.
Let me do a couple of quick plugs before we wrap it up.
Yeah, forgot about that.
First and foremost, Garrett, you have been officially credentialed for all Tampa Bay Buccaneer home games.
It's looking that way. It is looking that way. So I, unless something goes wrong, I will be at every Buccaneers home game, covering the team for Sports Talk Florida and Bucks Report. I'm pretty sure I'll be going on some pre-show podcasts with Keith from Bucks Report. JT, I don't know if you're going to be there also. Just in the morning, Sunday mornings. And then I'll head over to Raymond James Stadium, cover the game. I'll be live tweeting the game and bringing you game stories and recaps and all that after. It'll be a great time. So follow me on Twitter at NFL Ballard. Follow JT. Follow Bucks Report. Well, look up Bucks Report on Google. There's some Twitter issues. That is,
we got to get that figured out.
Yeah, we got to get that figured out. But go to Bucks Report, Sports Talk Florida. Find all my stuff. Find all JT stuff at Bucks Report. So make sure y'all are up to date by the season start.
Yeah, if you thought the content was good now, wait till you get Garrett in the stadium firsthand. And if you're not following Garrett, what are you doing? Get on that. Get out there. Follow him. And then I had a little housekeeping I had to take care of here. Keith owner of Bucks Report, brought it to my attention yesterday that I've been nominated for 2 awards from the Best of the Bay.
Yeah, that's
so
sick.
That was super cool.
Yeah, congrats on that. I forgot to message you about that, but that's sick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was a thing. He literally sent it to me on text, like, "Hey, congratulations on this." I'm like, "What's this?" So it's a super big honor because I'm nominated for Best Columnist and Best Sports Writer. I'm there with the likes of Joe Bucks fan, and especially Greg Auman is the big name that I really respect in Tampa media. And Tampa has so many good media people, but Greg Auman is the king in my book. So super humbling to be included with those names. Granted, they are 100% better than me, but just to be in that conversation is super humbling.
Yeah, I think what we should do, link the link or put the link to the voting underneath this. Is it still open?
Yeah, I think it runs all of August.
Perfect. So when the show's done, we'll put the link underneath in like a tweet thread of this. Make sure y'all go vote for JT. He's earned it, man. He's grinded for many, many years. He's one of the best out there. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Congratulations to you. That is such a sick thing that you can say has happened. So,
I think I'm personally going to vote for Greg, but this is America. Y'all can cast your vote however you like.
That's funny.
I cannot physically stop you, but I appreciate everyone who reads my stuff. I appreciate anyone who nominated me. I don't know how this nomination came to be, but I appreciate everyone out there.
Yeah, you've heard it, man. Congrats. Well, I think that is going to do it for us at the Creamsicle Chronicles today. Thank you all once again for listening, for joining us, talking some Bucks football. Come back next week. We'll give you some recaps of the midweek joint practice updates, what's going on with the Dolphins. And as always, go Bucks.
Go Bucks.